That was an interesting choice to make kind of like a horror show out of Nancy Drew. How prevalent is that sort of ghost theme going to be this season?
Quite prevalent, quite prevalent. You know, we were all fans of Nancy Drew growing up, and something we noticed when we were developing the show is that a lot of the books have the hint of something supernatural in them, ghosts or demons or whatever. But it always turns out to be like some old man in the well who's counterfeiting money, or so when we, for example.
Always a Scooby-Doo real estate agent.
It is. So when we decided to make the show, we were like, what if we just do ghosts? So, yeah.
And actually, there has been like several attempts to make a Nancy Drew TV series over the past couple of years. This one is the first one to make it to series. Congratulations.
Hey.
What about this iteration is so special?
I think it honors the original character and everything that everyone who loved the books loves about Nancy, but as you already alluded to, it brings a little extra special sauce. We really wanted to make sure that the character felt contemporary and relatable for today's audiences, and even if you didn't know anything about Nancy Drew and had never read a book, that you'd still be able to find Nancy as a character, her relationship with her dad, with her friends, with the town that she lives in, the mysteries that have fallen into her lap that she needs to solve. And of course, the ghosts would all be compelling.
I also think we were incredibly lucky to come up with this cast. They're amazing. They work together so well. We're so pleased to have all of them. And our director, Larry Tang, who directed the heck out of that pilot, was really a find also, and is continuing as our producing director up in Vancouver.
Talk to me a little bit about that casting process, because obviously when you're working with like a beloved piece of fiction like this, you have to be very careful when you pick, your actors. How did you come across this wonderful gaggle of youngsters?
Well, Sandy Logan, our casting director, is here tonight. She did an amazing job of casting each and every character so that they felt unique and specific, and maybe unique, maybe not what you had in mind when you were reading the books for the first time, while also making sure she's a huge Nancy Drew fan, that those core concepts were respected and honored.
Absolutely. And I know who else on stage is a huge Nancy Drew fan would be Kennedy. What's it like bringing sort of Nancy Drew to life, being such a fan?
It's a combination of a lot of things. I think that there was an initial wave of pressure because it's a character that's very meaningful to me, and I know very meaningful to a lot of people. But then there was I find a level of comfort, even if it only reflects internally, of knowing that I unintentionally spent many, many years of my life preparing for this. And at the end of the day, all I can do is trust that preparation and trust those many hours I spent pretending I was Nancy Drew in my head and hoping that translates to other superfans in the way that it does for me. And also, in combination, just relying on our writers and creators and our team to help support the Nancy that we are creating, and just making sure that I give focus to that, because at the end of the day, this is our take on it, and that's all it can be. So.
Absolutely. And this is, I would say, a more adult version of Nancy Drew than maybe all of us 12 years old reading in the books are used to. For you and for the producers, sort of what was that creative process like, creating this adult version of Nancy?
Well, she's definitely not a virgin, so that's really
We'll just get that out of the way.
Yeah, in case you didn't notice. Yeah.
What?
But I think what's important about this version of Nancy Drew is that 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds have sex. It's a part of life, and I think, it's cool to put like really good consensual sex on screen. But besides that, it's that it doesn't change who Nancy is at her core, which is that she's a brave heroine who takes risks and goes on adventures and always fights for the truth. But we also made her a little complicated. She has a past.
Definitely. Yeah, for me, I think it's really refreshing because it's not a perfect girlfriend, perfect daughter, perfect robot, detective girl is not interesting at all to me. And the stuff that draws me to characters is this sort of realistic and messy and something that's displayed in all the gray areas of life, including romance and physical intimacy, and someone who's trying to put the pieces of life together as she grows up, as she's trying to figure out who she is, and that includes a lot of experimenting with what is right and what's not, and you know, how she's dealing with grief and grappling with a major loss in her life, and how she can, you know, how she's trying and succeeding or trying and failing to fill that gaping void that she has. And I think it's just very realistic and cool, and I'm really glad that we're not shying away from it. And yeah.
That deserves a round of applause. Wonderful, wonderful answer.
All right.
I did obviously notice several things from the books made it into the pilot, obviously. How many on the panel have read the books? Oh, well done.
Not all of it.
For anybody who wants to answer, how do you guys try to balance sort of including these things from the books that everybody knows and loves while also putting an original spin on these characters and this story?
I'll say that one thing that really delights us is including a diverse take on a lot of the characters and a lot of the kind of settings and how we introduce people in the world to each other. There are folks who you'll meet in one episode and they don't seem important, but if we took the time to cast them and give them words to speak, they are important. They'll come back in the world and they will make an impact in an unexpected way. We really enjoy, we're still trying to get a dog in, but we can't afford a dog right now. We'll write CBS Studios and say they really need Togo. They, you know, however, are giving us lots of great money for casting and for special guest stars, and we hope to have more of those. And we really, really want to have people like Hannah Gruen show up, but she won't be a housekeeper, I will tell you that.
And Scott, welcome to the hot roster of CW dads. Nancy and her dad obviously don't have the greatest relationship right off the bat. How are we going to see those two evolve and sort of what that relationship is going to become?
Yeah, I mean, when I first read the script, I was so enthralled with really every character in it, and the telling of the story is so incredible. But I was really drawn to this relationship between Carson and Nancy. Funny enough, in having read some of the books when I was a kid, and being a kid, I wasn't focused on the old guy, on the dad. And when I've gone back and reread them, their relationship is so interesting and challenging and great. And in this telling, you know, we find them reeling from the loss of my wife and her mom, and we've, you know, kind of been grieving in very different ways and separately. And so when the story picks up, you find two people who love each other as much as two people could love each other, but they just cannot reach each other. There's this chasm between them. They can't communicate. They can't connect. And I think it's been an incredible experience working with Kennedy. You know, I feel like you can act a lot of things, you can manufacture some things, but that simple organic understanding that two human beings share, and therefore two characters, I just felt so immediately with Kennedy that the work we've been doing together has been a joy, even though it's been incredibly painful because we've got two characters who are just yearning for each other and can't figure it out. But throughout the course of this season, and it's going to take a while, hopefully they'll find their way back to each other.